The rising tide. The UES Defiance jump drive sputtered to life as Captain Elena Vasquez ordered an emergency exit from hyperspace. The massive human battleship materialized in the asteroid belt of the Proxima Centauri system, its hull still glowing from the heat of combat. "Status report," Vasquez demanded, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. The bridge crew worked frantically amid flashing red emergency lights and the acrid smell of burned circuitry. "Hull integrity at 64%, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported. "Reactors stable but cooling systems on decks 4 through 9 are failing. Weapons systems operational but ammunition reserves at 32%. Vasquez studied the tactical display where 5 Criveri cruisers appeared as ominous red markers in pursuit. The alien vessels were sleeker, faster, and theoretically more advanced than the human battleship in every measurable way. Yet the Defiant had survived where 3 other human ships had been destroyed. "They're tracking our radiation signature," Tactical Officer Chen observed. "Standard Criveri pursuit pattern. They'll be in weapons range in 7 minutes." The bridge fell silent as the crew awaited orders. The Criveri Empire had emerged from deep space 18 months ago, declaring the Sol system and all human-occupied territories to be in violation of their ancient territorial claims. Diplomacy had failed within weeks. The war that followed had pushed humanity to the brink of extinction. "Power down all non-essential systems," Vasquez ordered. "Divert emergency power to the new adaptive shield array." Her executive officer, Commander Okafor, raised an eyebrow. "Captain, that system is experimental. It hasn't been field-tested." "It has now," Vasquez replied. "We're out of options, and the Criveri have never encountered it before." As the pursuing alien vessels closed in, the Defiant drifted silently among the asteroids, its power signature diminishing to almost nothing. The adaptive shield technology, developed in secret on Mars after studying debris from destroyed Criveri ships, was humanity's desperate gamble. "Criveri vessels adjusting course," Chen announced. "They're splitting up to search the asteroid field." Vasquez leaned forward. "Good. Let's introduce them to human ingenuity. Target the lead vessel with kinetic impactors. Aim for their propulsion systems." The Defiant's railguns silently aligned, and as the nearest Criveri cruiser passed within 2 kilometers, they fired. Massive tungsten rods accelerated to a fraction of light speed, slammed into the alien vessel's engine housing. The Criveri ship's shields, calibrated for energy weapons, failed catastrophically against the primitive kinetic attack. "Direct hit," Chen reported, unable to keep the triumph from his voice. "Enemy vessel disabled." "The others are responding," Jackson warned. "Energy signatures indicate weapon charging." Vasquez nodded. "Now, Commander Okafor, bring the adaptive shields online." The experimental system hummed to life, analyzing the energy signatures of the incoming Criveri weapons fire and reconfiguring the Defiant's shield harmonics in real time. As the alien energy beams struck, the shields shimmered but held. "Incredible," Okafor whispered. "The shields are adapting to their weapon frequencies. Each hit is less effective than the last." Vasquez allowed herself a grim smile. "Return fire, all batteries." The Defiant's weapon systems unleashed a devastating barrage, a combination of railgun fire, missile salvos, and conventional energy weapons that overwhelmed the Criveri vessel's defenses. Within minutes, 2 more enemy ships were crippled, venting atmosphere into space. "The remaining vessels are retreating," Chen reported. "They're sending burst transmissions, likely calling for reinforcements." "Let them run," Vasquez said, "and let them tell their fleet commanders what happened here." "Navigation, set course for Arcturus Station." "Engineering, I want a full analysis of the adaptive shield performance." As the Defiant limped away from the battlefield, its wounded hull gleaming in the light of Proxima Centauri, Vasquez knew they had just changed the course of the war. The Criveri, for all their technological superiority, had never faced an enemy like humanity. a species that had evolved under the harsh conditions of Earth, fighting for survival since its first days. "Send a quantum burst transmission to Fleet Command," she ordered. "Tell them the adaptive shield works, and tell them we found the Creveri's weakness." 6 months later, the UES Defiant led a fleet of 30 human battleships into the heart of Creveri-controlled space, each vessel now equipped with adaptive shielding and a bewildering array of weapons systems that defied conventional tactical doctrine. "Fleet status, Commander," Vasquez asked, now wearing the insignia of a rear admiral. Okafor, promoted to captain of the Defiant, studied the tactical display. "All ships in formation, Admiral. The Creveri Defense Fleet has taken up position around the Rigel colony." The tactical display showed over 60 Creveri vessels arranged in a perfect defensive formation, elegant, mathematical, and utterly predictable. "They still don't understand," Vasquez observed. "Signal all ships. Implement Operation Thunderclap." Throughout the human fleet, specially designed electromagnetic pulse generators powered up. The technology was crude by Creveri standards, almost primitive, but that was precisely why it would work. The aliens had evolved beyond such basic warfare tactics millennia ago. When the EMPs detonated, both fleets temporarily lost power and communications, but human crews had trained for exactly this scenario, operating manually and coordinating through prearranged visual signals. The Creveri crews, utterly dependent on their advanced AI tactical systems, fell into disarray. The battle that followed was brutal and decisive. Human ships, functioning on backup systems and manual controls, tore through the Creveri formation. Some vessels even deliberately rammed the alien ships when their weapons were depleted, a tactic so irrational and self-destructive that the Creveri had no defense against it. By the time both fleets regained full power, half the Creveri vessels had been destroyed or disabled, while the human fleet had lost only 7 ships. "They're retreating, Admiral," Okafor reported as the surviving Creveri vessels jumped to hyperspace. "Rigel colony is ours." Vasquez nodded, watching as damage control teams worked to repair the Defiant's battle scars. "Begin rescue operations for any human captives, and analyze every piece of Creveri technology you can salvage." A communications officer approached with a tablet. "Admiral, we've intercepted Creveri communications. Our linguists have translated portions of them." Vasquez scanned the report, her expression hardening. "They're calling us the irrational ones. They can't comprehend why we would sacrifice ships to win battles. They've never had to fight for their survival," Okafor observed. "Their empire has stood unchallenged for 10,000 years. Until now," Vasquez replied. "Send word to Earth. The Rigel system is secure, and we've confirmed what we suspected. The Creveri's greatest weakness is their inability to comprehend human unpredictability." As the human fleet consolidated their position in the newly captured system, reports came in from across the front lines. Human forces, emboldened by the new technologies and tactics, were pushing back the Creveri invasion on multiple fronts. They thought their technological superiority guaranteed victory, Vasquez said to her senior staff as they planned their next offensive. But they forgot the most fundamental lesson of warfare. It's not the technology that wins wars. It's the will to survive, the ability to adapt, and the courage to do the unthinkable when your back is against the wall. The assembled officers nodded in solemn agreement. Humanity had suffered grievous losses in the early months of the war, but now the tide was turning. The legend of human battleships, vessels that could absorb punishment that would destroy any Creveri ship 3 times their size, crewed by beings who would sacrifice themselves without hesitation to achieve victory, was spreading across the galaxy. Fear was proving to be a more potent weapon than any railgun or missile, and humanity had just deployed it on a galactic scale. The inevitable storm. Admiral John Way stood on the observation deck of the UES Prometheus, humanity's newest and largest battleship. At 3 kilometers long, The vessel represented everything humanity had learned during 4 years of brutal war against the Creveri Empire. "Magnificent, isn't she?" asked Dr. Eliza Chen, chief architect of the Prometheus project, the culmination of human ingenuity and alien technology. Zhang nodded, his weathered face reflecting in the reinforced viewport. Below them, Earth glowed blue and serene, deceptively peaceful despite the war raging across a dozen star systems. "The Creveri have assembled their entire fleet at Ta City," Zhang said. 217 vessels, including their remaining dreadnoughts. Intelligence suggests they formed an alliance with the Nyx Collective and the Sorith Dominion. Chen's expression darkened. 3 major galactic powers, all united against humanity. "They fear us," Zhang replied simply. "In 4 years, we've gone from near extinction to controlling 27 star systems. We've defeated a civilization that's been unchallenged for 10 millennia. Of course they're afraid." The Prometheus represented humanity's greatest achievement, a perfect fusion of salvaged alien technology and human innovation. Its asymmetrical design confounded Creveri targeting systems. Its distributed power network could sustain catastrophic damage without failing. But its true advantage lay in the revolutionary phase shift drive, a technology that allowed the massive vessel to temporarily exist partially out of normal spacetime. "Phase shift systems at 100% capacity," Chen reported, checking her datapad. "The science team is still nervous about using it in combat conditions, but all simulations indicate it should work." Zhang smiled slightly. The Creveri thought they were fighting a primitive species with inferior technology. Instead, they awakened something they don't understand. A species that evolved under Earth's harsh conditions, constantly fighting for survival, constantly adapting. Alarms sounded throughout the ship as the tactical alert system activated. A junior officer approached and saluted sharply. "Admiral, the Ta City fleet is moving. They'll reach Earth in 72 hours. Zhang nodded. "It's time. Signal all ships to prepare for departure." The combined alien armada moved through hyperspace with perfect precision. In the Lid Creveri dreadnought, Supreme Commander Vaxrith studied the tactical projections with growing confidence. "The humans cannot stand against our combined might," he declared to his war council. "Their recent victories have been anomalies. With the Nyx and Sorith technologies supplementing our own, we will crush their resistance once and for all." A subordinate approached cautiously. "Supreme Commander, our long-range scanners detect a human fleet assembling at the edge of the Sol system. Approximately 50 vessels." Vaxrith's compound eyes shifted in amusement. 50 against our 200. They must be desperate indeed. "Prepare for." The transmission was interrupted by static as the alien armada suddenly reverted to normal space, far earlier than planned. The disoriented Creveri crews scrambled to assess their situation. "Forced hyperspace exit," a navigation officer reported. "Unknown cause." Outside the viewport, the blackness of space was broken by the imposing silhouette of the UES Prometheus, flanked by 50 human battleships. Behind them, a massive array of orbital platforms generated the hyperspace disruption field that had yanked the alien fleet back into normal space. "Human vessels are activating weapons systems," the tactical officer reported urgently. Vaxrith composed himself. "They are still outnumbered 4-1. Deploy into combat formation. Prioritize the largest human vessel." The alien fleet began to reorganize with practiced efficiency, but the humans struck before they could complete their formation. The Prometheus suddenly shimmered and partially vanished from sensors as its phase shift drive activated. "Target lock lost," the tactical officer cried. "The human flagship is fluctuating between normal space and something else." Hundreds of kinetic impactors launched from the human fleet, followed by swarms of autonomous drone fighters. Another technology the aliens considered too primitive to be effective. The Creveri point defense systems, calibrated for energy weapons and conventional missiles, struggled to track the simple ballistic trajectories of the kinetic projectiles. In the chaos of battle, The Prometheus phased in and out of normal space, appearing momentarily to fire its main batteries before becoming virtually untargetable again. The human battleships executed maneuvers that violated standard tactical doctrine, deliberately presenting damaged sections to draw fire away from their vulnerable areas. Vaxareth watched in mounting horror as his perfect formation disintegrated into individual skirmishes, exactly what human captains excelled at. The allied Nyx and Sorith vessels, unfamiliar with human tactics, suffered even worse losses. Supreme Commander, his executive officer reported, the humans are employing a new weapon. Some kind of gravity manipulation device. 3 Nyx dreadnoughts have been crushed by artificial singularities. On the bridge of the Prometheus, Admiral Zhang calmly issued orders as the battle unfolded exactly as the tactical simulations had predicted. The alien fleet, for all its numerical superiority, was fragmenting under the pressure of human unpredictability. The Creveri flagship is altering course, Tactical Officer Ramirez reported. They appear to be preparing to retreat. Zhang nodded. As expected. Target their hyperdrive systems. I want that ship intact. The Prometheus's main batteries fired with pinpoint precision, disabling the Creveri flagship's propulsion systems without destroying the vessel itself. As the alien armada began a disorganized retreat, human boarding parties launched toward the stranded Creveri command ship. 6 hours later, Supreme Commander Vaxareth stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, a prisoner of war. The alien leader's normally imposing presence was diminished by the unfamiliar surroundings and the knowledge of his defeat. Your species defies understanding, Vaxareth said bitterly. Inferior technology, inferior numbers, yet you prevail. Zhang regarded the alien commander evenly. That's because you measure superiority only in technology and numbers. You've forgotten what it means to fight for survival. The Creveri Empire has stood for 10,000 years, Vaxareth countered. And in all that time, you never faced an enemy who thought fundamentally differently, Zhang replied. That's why human battleships will always be undefeatable, not because of our technology, but because of who we are. 1 month later, representatives from all major galactic powers gathered on the neutral world of Proxima for peace negotiations. The human delegation, led by Admiral Vasquez, now promoted to Fleet Admiral, presented terms that were surprisingly moderate given humanity's recent victories. We don't seek to destroy your civilizations or claim your territories, Vasquez explained to the assembled alien diplomats. We only want recognition of our sovereignty and the right to expand peacefully. Vaxareth, now serving as the Creveri diplomatic envoy, studied the human admiral with newfound respect. And what guarantees do we have that humanity will not become the very thing it fought against? A conquering empire enforcing its will across the galaxy. Vask smiled slightly. Because conquest was never our goal. Survival was. And now, cooperation is. The peace treaty that emerged from the negotiations established humanity as a major galactic power, but also created a framework for scientific and cultural exchange between formerly hostile species. Human adaptive shielding and phase shift technology would be shared, with limitations, in exchange for access to the ancient knowledge repositories of the Creveri and their allies. As the delegates prepared to return to their respective homeworlds, Vaxareth approached Vasquez privately. There is something I still do not understand, the Creveri confessed. Your species had every advantage in the final battle. You could have annihilated our forces, yet you chose restraint. Why? Vasquez considered the question carefully. Because the true strength of humanity isn't in our battleships or our technology. It's in our capacity for both ruthlessness and mercy. We'll fight with unmatched ferocity when threatened, but we understand that lasting peace can't be built on extermination. The alien commander was silent for a long moment before responding. Perhaps that is why you are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, and potentially the most valuable ally. As news of the peace treaty spread across human space, celebrations erupted on Earth and its colonies. The legend of human battleships had evolved from tales of desperate survival to symbols of a new era in galactic politics. In orbit above Earth, the Prometheus was being retrofitted as the flagship of a new exploration fleet. Its weapons systems partially replaced with scientific equipment, it would lead humanity's push into unknown regions of the galaxy. Admiral Zhang stood on its observation deck one final time before his retirement, gazing down at the planet that had forged humanity's indomitable spirit. "We were never undefeatable because of our ships," he murmured to himself. "We were undefeatable because of what Earth taught us, that survival requires adaptation, cooperation, and the courage to face the unknown." The stars beckoned beyond the viewport, no longer battlefields but frontiers of discovery. Human battleships, once symbols of desperate resistance, would now carry the legacy of Earth to the farthest reaches of the cosmos, not as conquerors, but as explorers driven by the same relentless curiosity and determination that had saved humanity from extinction. In the vast tapestry of galactic civilizations, humanity had earned its place not through technological superiority, but through the unique combination of ingenuity, unpredictability, and resilience that made human battleships legends among the stars.